This is First You Hustle, a podcast from the Columbus College of Art and Design meant to help students and budding creative professionals put their expertise to use. I'm Jordan Bell, and today we're talking to interns. 'Tis the season for reflection, so we'll hear from two CCAD students who just completed their fall internships to see how their experience went. There's Claire, who went from this.
But I had to create an icon for daisy chain, wire harnessing, and then antimicrobial finishing.
And did you know what these things are?
Not a clue.
To this.
And then she got back to me and she was like, yeah, these are the ones. And then I just checked out the website one day and I was like, oh my God, I did that.
And there's Katie, who found out one of the best visual design tools is actually a search engine and Excel spreadsheets.
But it was really cool to have the marketing base behind all this. I know more of strictly like who I want to target to when I'm doing research behind my projects. I know how to find the demographics, psychographics, everything based around that to like support who I'm trying to like target a message to.
Hear from their experiences and you'll see that internships are the gift that keep giving in ways you can't even imagine.
It wasn't always in the office. I got to get to know like the guys from NBC4. I got to hang out with them every Friday. iHeartRadio had a concert and I got to meet Abby Anderson. I got to take like a picture with her, and it was just like a really thrilling experience to actually like to have all these connections.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. We missed you. We were on a little late semester hiatus between our November career fair and this episode. I hope you took that time to catch up on past episodes. Some people didn't take a break all semester until just now. Those were students who had internships. Some majors have a requirement to do an internship to graduate, but I like to say life has a requirement to do an internship to get your career going. Whether you need to or not for the degree, internships are something everyone should do, but the credit is also nice. For students receiving credit, they had the option to sit down with me and reflect on their experience for one of their credit assignments. A few students took advantage of this, and today we'll hear from two of them. Hearing from the perspective of the intern is some of the most valuable career advice you can get. This is essentially Ghost of Internship Future talking to you. Hey, it's the holidays. I had to make the reference. Listen to their aha moments, the things they found most valuable in an internship, and how it is helping them grow as a professional. You'll find that a truly valuable internship exists in all kinds of places. Companies of different sizes, structures, industries, all share some common elements of what they give to someone working there. And internships end. So as you search, look for the companies where you know you can grow, you know you'll learn, and it'll help you get the next job after that. Just a word of advice for the romantic internship seekers who are holding out for the right internship. It's closer than you think. Don't sit on the dock too long. Jump on in. The water's nice. Take it from the students themselves.
My name is Claire Gray. I am an ad graph major, and I have been interning at Your Lighting brand in downtown Columbus.
And tell us a little bit about Your Lighting brand. Who are they?
So they basically do branding and some management for companies all under the umbrella of the lighting industry. So manufacturers or agencies that make and distribute lighting products.
And what's your role with them?
I am, I kind of call myself the office guinea pig. I kind of work under everybody, and I have one main boss named Leda, and she's kind of the main person that I work under. She'll give me any assignments that she would like to offload for any of her clients. But then if she's kind of bare, I'll go up to the other designers who are more like brand managers, and there are 3 of them in total, and I'll kind of go up to them and be like, hey, do you guys have anything that I can work on? Sometimes they'll give me stuff. Other times there's one designer who's like designer, but then she's also web development, so she does like all of the designing for the websites. So I'll ask her, hey, do you have anything I can do? Or I'll just kind of bounce around a little bit, see if there's anything that anybody needs help with.
Okay, great. And what are some of the learning objectives you set out to accomplish this semester, and how did you do on those?
Really, my main objective was I've been in this major for 3 years. I have never done anything in any sort of industry world. I had no idea what an office would look like, what my day-to-day would look like. I was like, I love this major. This is what I want to do with my life. I have no idea how I'm actually going to do that with my life. So I had also worked retail, so I wanted to really develop office skills, inter-office communication, and then just find how my role would be when I go into those professional jobs. And I think I did really well. I'm probably a little bit biased, but I definitely had a lot of fun in this internship. I learned so much, and now that it's finals week and we're getting to the end of the semester, I'm realizing just how much I learned, and how much it's helping me just in my classes. And that's definitely something that I'm very, very thankful for.
Yeah. What are some of those we call those professional skills? Like technical skills are like your design skills, but professional skills are like, how do you function in an office environment?
Right.
What were some of those epiphany moments where you're like, oh, now I get it, and this makes it a lot easier, or, you know?
A lot of them were just, oh, I can ask questions. I'm very used to, if I don't know what I'm doing, I figure it out and I grit through it. But in an office setting, I mean, there are some things where if I did it wrong, it would be seen by so many people and it would look bad for the agency. So that was definitely a learning moment for me, was just, oh, I can ask for help. I should ask for help. They are going to help me and I'm not going to be yelled at, which just for me as a person is hard to do. And then for me as a designer, I'm very used to like going up to a teacher and be like, hey, can you help me? And they'd be like, give me some very vague, roundabout kind of, you figure it out, basically saying to me. And so I was used to that. So I was kind of like, oh, well, if I ask for help, they're just going to give me that vague roundabout. No, they'll actually sit down right next to me and go, yeah, this is how you do that. This is how this should look. This is how this should be formatted. And I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. So they're always there for more, but I think some people are just like, okay, I need to go pretend I'm doing something at my desk, even though I don't know.
Yeah. Or I would just like be running my fingers through my hair, like creating a rat's nest in my hair, like trying to figure something out. And for a while there, my manager just kind of looked at me and go, you good? And I'm like, okay, how do I do this? Like, I'd be the most timid and meek and like, and then by the end of it, I'm like, okay, how do I do this?
Right. Yeah.
And I just like shove my laptop in their face, like, and they're like, oh, this is how you do it. I'm like, oh, thank God, thank you.
It's finals now, and you're recognizing just how much you learned. Is that, I'm guessing that might be some of the like time management and process type stuff that like, because that's one of those skills that you take from the internship and then bring to the classroom, is like, oh, now I know how to process a little bit better. It's
very time management, but the majority of it is actually, one of the reasons I loved this internship so much was that one of the first weeks that I started, my manager came to me and she's like, okay, so what do you want to get out of this? What are, any of the things that you really want to learn? And of course I was like, time management. I mean, I am a little bit of a procrastinator. It's really bad. But also just, I felt as a designer, I was the weakest in InDesign. And so she was like, okay, great. So I'm going to give you all InDesign projects until you feel comfortable with that. And so now I'm putting together presentations and process books and stuff. And I'm just like throwing together InDesign documents in like 2 hours that would have taken me 3 weeks previously. And I'm just looking at stuff and I'm editing other people's InDesign documents. And I'm like just so quick at it that I never thought I would get to be. And that's like the biggest thing that I'm just like, oh, finally I'm like proficient in all of these products, not just like limping on InDesign, which is pretty great.
That's awesome. So that's a good transition into some of the work that you've done, that you've been doing during the semester. You want to share some of the projects or whatever you can share?
Yeah, well, most of the stuff is out in the wild. One of the biggest things that I had so much fun with was one of the companies that we actually do the branding for is SpecGrade, and they have sub website, SpecGrade Grow, or it's a sub brand. But they were getting a huge overhaul, and this was one of my first projects, and it was in Illustrator, and I had to do the icon design. So I had some icons that were just being redesigned, and then I had other icons that didn't exist anywhere, and I had to create them based off of what they already had. And that was for like LED warranties and driver warranties, and there are other things. But I had to create an icon for daisy chain, wire harnessing, and then antimicrobial finishing.
And did you know what these things are?
Not a clue. I knew what a daisy chain was because, I mean, I think of daisy chain as like, the daisies that you wrap around the stems and then you make a little flower crown out of it. So I was like, daisy, how does that talk about light? Oh, it's the wiring and okay, cool. But yeah, I was like, okay, antimicrobial, I know what that is. Finishing, okay, cool. That's what they put on the thing. But then the daisy chain wiring, I was like, okay, how am I doing that? But I had a whole file of all of the other icons that had been designed by your lighting brand for this company. And so I used a lot of those. I used a lot of the base icons that they had. And then they had their own brand standards that YLB created for them. So like everything was a certain color. It was, one color and then all white. And so I, did sketches, and then I showed them to my manager, and she's like, these 3 look good. All right, go vectorize everything. And so then I would vector them, and then I'd go back to her, and I'm like, I'm having trouble. This just doesn't look right, or this looks weird. And she would go, oh, yeah, well, here, try this. Here are some of my notes. Now go finish those. We'll talk about them when you come back the next day. And so this was like a 3-week process of just doing really super tiny icons, but they're on the website. They are on all of the spec sheets that they send out for any of their products. So it's pretty well seen. And so by they're done, I had 2 different versions, and then I gave them to my manager, and my manager's like, all right, I'll present these to, I forget who she presented them to in that other company, but she'd present them, and then they would choose which of the 2 that they liked the best. And then she got back to me, and she was like, yeah, these are the ones. And then I just checked out the website one day, and I was like, oh my God, I did that.
Yeah, you can see your work somewhere.
Yeah, so that was like one of the most rewarding and fulfilling things. So like, I created that, and it's out in the wild, and it exists, and it's on their website. And then it's just funny because on my computer I have like all the little different edits that I did. One for the daisy chain was an actual daisy. I'm like, I'm giving this to a really well-known lighting company, and they're going to have a little icon on everything that's just going to be a daisy. Cool. They didn't choose that one, but that was a fun little, like, just goofy one to do.
Yeah, and so when you do projects, in a classroom, it's for yourself. Like, you get to make all the sort of creative decisions. But when you're working with a team and for a company, there's always someone else that it needs to go up the chain to and have approval on. So what was that process like, kind of doing work, trying to anticipate what someone else needs from it, and removing what you're like, you may be like, oh, I like the daisies, but they don't want the daisies, so no daisies.
Right. I still have that daisy icon. I will use it on something. It's just they're not getting it. But yeah, I didn't see a lot of that because there was, the company, and then they have a brand manager, and then there's the person under the brand manager, and then there's me. So I didn't see a lot of that, but I did see firsthand. I remember there was one, it was a mascot type thing that it was done in the 90s. They wanted to revamp it so it was more modernized. And my manager was doing this. She spent days and days and days just doing the sketches and coloring and having so much fun with this little mascot. And then they presented it to the person in the company that they're presenting it to, and he just hated it, and he was like so shocked by it. And she came back the next day, and she was like, just did not know what to do. And that was an interesting thing to see because it was like she didn't entirely pour her soul into it, but she definitely did put a little bit of herself in there. And then just to see it like, and then she's like, oh, well, I was looking at this wrong. So it was interesting because she kind of taught me the perspective that you need when you're working with clients. It's like, in order to not get hurt by their decisions, really, you have to make sure that you're looking at it from their point of view and what they want. And it is very, you have to anticipate everything that they're thinking and what they want. But it's one of those where you really have to, you're going to get an assignment, and then you're going to think how they want it, and then you're going to go show it to them, and they're going to say, that's horrible. No, this is what we're thinking. And then you have to go, oh, now I understand what you're thinking. Let me redo it, instead of just like taking it internally.
Yeah, and sometimes the most painful part is someone needs to see what they don't want to then be able to articulate what they do want. So
right.
It's like, oh, why didn't you tell me that in the first place? It's like, well, we didn't know.
Yeah.
But once you showed us one thing, now we know the other thing that we want. What's something that you did find yourself pulling from the classroom, like something that you're glad you learned and were able to actually utilize now in a real world experience?
One of my professors' most loved phrases, kill your darlings. You're going to have your first idea. It's going to be your favorite. Kill it. Go with your second, third, fourth, fifth. That was definitely something I had to do with, I did some like PDF layouts, and when I did the icon designs, it was, I have this one, I really love it, I'm going to completely delete it or put it off to the side, not look at it. Because sometimes what I learned in the classroom was I get so obsessed with my first design, I don't think about all the other designs I could be doing, which is, again, one of the reasons why I really liked having, you need 3 designs in order for me to show the bosses or the clients 3 designs that they can choose from. And I'm very used to, here's my one design.
Right.
I did very much love having an internship and getting college credit for it. That was pretty phenomenal for me. But this semester in this internship was a big learning experience for me that I'm very, very grateful that I had. I'm very grateful to Your Lighting brand for me being their intern. They hadn't had an intern in a while, and it was a really great office setting. I definitely don't think I could have had a better first internship or first kind of dip into the graphic design world.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like a really great experience. So I'm glad you got to have it this semester. And thanks for sharing your experience with students. It's always good for them to learn about what's out there and what it's like to do an internship. So appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be on a podcast. This is so cool.
Now, maybe you have never heard of Your Lighting brand before today, but even in a company you have heard of, like Raising Cane's, there's some roles within that company you might not have considered, like all the moving parts of a full marketing operation. It isn't all just graphic design and commercials. There's a lot of support that goes into making sure the designs are just right and the commercials are on target.
My name is Katie Uton, and I've been working this last semester with Raising Cane's Ohio. I'm not working in the restaurant. I'm in the office here in Columbus, and what I've been doing is just helping them with their marketing events. I'm part of the marketing team now, so I help them with setting up their reference guides, learning about each restaurant, learning about the customer, and I'm also working on event sites too, so it's kind of half and half, in office and on site with stuff.
What do you mean by event sites? What's an event site?
So this past semester, we were doing football games with NBC4 because we sponsor them and they sponsor us. So we were one of the leading sponsors with them, and we would go to local restaurants around the high school that they're doing their football Friday nights with. We would get chicken fingers, sauce, and we would go set up there and talk to people at the game, handing out chicken fingers and sauce for them.
Okay, so doing more like street team.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And was there also work you would do on the back end, in the office as well?
Yeah. So previous for this, we would always be communicating with the guys from the news team, and we would have to get some marketing stuff, which would be we had football things we could throw at them. We had things, I don't know what they're called, but they would beat them together to make noise.
Like those inflatable
and we would
things,
get frisbees. Depending what school it would be, we would get different things. We would get stuff to match their school color. We would try to plan ahead for that type of stuff and know how much. So we would have to also order the gates from the stores, so we'd have to know how much to do that for, and then what time to pick up. What you need to bring to prepare for that. It was just a whole bunch of stuff leading to that. So it was pretty cool to see all that.
Cool. So each event was distinctly different. It's not like we're doing the same dog and pony show at each.
Yeah, basically it was different because depending what school, if it's a bigger school, you would have to order more. You would have to, some schools we didn't even bring marketing stuff to. We would just bring the food, and then just organizing around each school and each district that we went to.
Cool.
It's really cool.
So what were some things you were hoping to learn in the internship, and how'd that go?
Yeah, so things that I really wanted to learn, and I talked to my boss Crystal about this before starting it. I wanted to become a support leader for local area marketing needs, understanding of local national marketing campaigns and how to best represent them as the guest. Knowledge and support of online community request systems, so that would be more of the fundraisers for each community. I'm from Grove City, so I worked a lot with that. I would go online and see which little companies wanted to have a fundraiser. I would get on there and I would approve these or deny them. It was they would request for a gift card, a gift basket, or they even would want food. And I would have to get on there and just research that a little bit and make sure it was legit, and I would approve them for that. And it was really cool to do something like that. Building and creating competitor database. So I would get on and I would look at each store that we have around Columbus, and I would create these really big outlines for them about who's coming into the restaurant, traffic flow, timing they would be there, other restaurants around there. That's one of the biggest projects I'm working on right now. But it was really cool to have the marketing base behind all this because I can take that in with like graphic design, which I'm majoring in. So I know more of strictly like who I want to target to when I'm doing research behind my projects. I know how to find like the demographics, psychographics, everything based around that to like support who I'm trying to like target a message to if I'm like wanting to take this to like previous work in the future and stuff for graphic design.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of market research.
Yeah,
stuff
it was like definitely
yeah.
research, statistics, trying to figure that all out because I was I'm doing a business minor here, so it was cool to take some stuff that I learned here and do it in an actual company and try to understand all that. It took like a while for me to understand all that, but like eventually I got a hang of it. And I have a better, like more of a responsibility now within the company than I did starting.
What are some of those things from business class that you found, oh, this is super helpful now in the field?
Some things I learned from like business class. I know I took a design management class. Starting with this job, I was more of like the rookie learning stuff, but eventually I started to gain like more responsibility. I was telling people like what I was bringing, what I needed to supply, just basically making sure like I'm prepared. I know what's going on. I know how to communicate with people. That was like one of the biggest things I took out of this, was that you need to communicate and you need to ask questions when needed. Questions are only going to just improve yourself. And I found that to be like extremely helpful because I'm usually typically like extremely quiet and I don't ever like ask questions. But when I do, like when I found out that I could do that here, I grew a lot because I was able to ask questions. I had more of like a leadership role. I was talking to people. I was going out of my comfort zone and just communicating with people with the marketing side because I guess it comes with that. You have to communicate and you have to bring people in the restaurant and just, it's kind of like a whole circle of that, if that made sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned, the kind of the research side will inform your graphic design side going forward.
Yeah.
Were there any other things in the internship that you aren't able to learn in the classroom that now you're like, oh, this will really help with me as a designer?
I think, and I kind of learned this in school and especially here at this job, my communication was not that great. Just pushing myself to go like out of my comfort zone to talk to people. I know I did that with one project this semester. I actually like approached someone, was like, hey, can I design stuff for you? And I was so scared. But with this internship, I've really learned to just like go after it. Like there's really nothing to be afraid of. Just like talk to people and like they're going to be receptive. Like it's either going to be good or bad, but usually it's always good. So I think that's really helped me a lot to actually have a job where it forces me to talk to people, because I know before starting this, I never really would have done that or knew how to do that. And it was a really like comfortable place to like grow within the company. Yeah.
What are some specific things that you did during this internship that are like crowning achievements, like big projects you worked on?
Definitely the one thing that was the crowning achievement for me was the RTRAPs, which are Restaurant Trade Area Plan. They seem like it wouldn't take much time to do these, but like here's like one like a image, but like I had to go through and I had to fill out so much stuff on these.
Yeah, so
and
that's like a Excel sheet. It looks like. What type of information do you have to capture?
So for those, I would have to. I'm doing these for each Columbus, Ohio location. I had to do the like getting to know the restaurant, like location information, the hours of operation, site traffic information. Another one was like demographics, day part information, trade area maps, which was showing competition around the restaurant community. There was a couple other ones too, and then another thing that I had to do was looking at like local businesses around it. I had to find churches, doctor office, dentists. So that helped me also with like the going in and going to a restaurant and doing marketing things for that. I would have to look back at this and see what's around that restaurant so I can get those people in the restaurant. I had to look at other competitors such as like Arby's, like Wendy's, all these locations around that. And you wouldn't think that there's probably 20 restaurants around that little location, but you have to like really go in there and find them. And then also doing media type, where we're broadcasting to. And now we just recently started having commercials, which we've never had before. So that was pretty cool.
And it must be helpful knowing too that like this is going to support the rest of the marketing mission. Like,
Oh
this is
yeah,
not just
definitely.
like busy work.
We're definitely going to be using these so much more. And it's really cool to actually like go in here and update everything from 2018 because a lot can change in a year. And I realized that going in, filling these out, because local businesses around each restaurant, I know when in 2018 there was probably only 50, but now there's 100. So
yeah, especially in Columbus.
Yeah, everything's definitely growing, and it's really cool to actually like see that.
Cool. What else do you have to share with us?
Something that I actually like really enjoyed about this job is it wasn't always in the office. I got to get to know like the guys from NBC4. I got to hang out with them every Friday. I know one thing that I just did recently is iHeartRadio had a concert, like a country fest, and I got to meet Abby Anderson. I got to take like a picture with her and listen to Luke Combs. It was just like a really thrilling experience to actually like have all these connections, because I've learned through this job, like I'm not just working in the office, I'm communicating with a lot of people from the news team, iHeartRadio, and last week I was in iHeartRadio with my boss Crystal, because she was making the ad that you're going to hear on the Christmas channel like this whole year. Yeah. Well, during Christmas.
Yeah.
So.
And it sounds like you have so many different like settings you were in, like you're at a concert hall, you're at football games, you're in TV stations, radio stations.
I was and then like one of my first events that I ever did, I actually did it solo. I was doing I think it was like the Marketing Association of Ohio, so all these business people were coming, and like I was just standing there so nervous trying to like talk to them, and it was just, I mean, I've been in uncomfortable situations, very comfortable situations, and ones that are just like, all right, I'm here, let's figure this out. Getting to actually grow as a person, and like I've really learned to have confidence when doing stuff like this, because going in I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this, but like I learned just have confidence going in. You're gonna learn, you're gonna grow as a person, and that just like really helped me. And just I didn't really struggle much. I didn't have any conflicts with my bosses or anything. That goes ahead like with being feeling like safe to grow here.
It sounds like this was a really exciting opportunity that, not a whole lot of students might not know what it's like to do this intense amount of market research and kind of street team type stuff that a lot of the visual design work informs or supplements, but it's like, it's such a driving force in marketing strategy. It's like, sounds like a really cool opportunity.
Yeah, that's what I was also excited about, because just in class you learn to do research, but with this like marketing internship you really learn what you're doing, what to look for. And it's cool now that I can go on to like future jobs where because I do want to work with like a graphic design agency, but I also have like now this background knowledge that I can take to like future jobs, and it's really cool to have that, because I know a lot of people probably don't have that. So it's been a thrilling experience.
Great. Awesome. Thanks again for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
A special thanks to Claire and Katie for sharing their experiences. We have more interviews, but we're putting them into future episodes, so stay tuned. The thought of doing an internship is intimidating. Perhaps you aren't sure you'll be able to do the work. You fear you don't know enough to do the work. You've never worked in a business office before. I mean, this is what internships are for. It's the introduction to being a professional. And as you heard in the interviews, also helps you stay on top of your schoolwork and ace your projects. So get out there, check in with Career Services. We'll help you find your internship so you can get your career started sooner rather than later. Take care, everyone.